let's talk Qantas again, because as we know, Alan Joyce went 2 months earlier than expected this week. He had been in that role for 15 years. There's questions now about whether his bonuses will be paid and how generous they will be. There's deferred bonuses because of COVID, and he's expected to get quite a hefty payout. This is on top of his wage. Joining me now is Australian Shareholders Association, Rachel Waterhouse. Rachel, thanks so much for your time. First, on that issue, what does the Shareholders Association have a view on how much Alan Joyce should be paid from those deferred bonuses?
Yeah, as far as Australian Shareholders Association, we're really calling on the board to look at the situation and the ACCC action in federal court. If there's a significant fine that's applied to Qantas, then there should be clawback or malice to those bonuses that have previously been announced. So it really needs a good look at what has been announced previously and whether it is still appropriate.
I think to the man on the street, it would seem quite unusual or weird for Alan Joyce to be paid millions of dollars in bonuses, not just because of the ACCC court action that is being brought, but the other litany of problems that Qantas is facing at the moment. How can someone be paid a bonus when the company is facing so many public relations issues? Or is this just based purely on profit? And the irony is that as he went out the door, Alan Joyce posted a record profit.
Yeah, so as those decisions had been made based on past performance, they need to be reevaluated. Most boards and companies do have the ability to claw back, and that's based on the reputational situation that now exists within the organisation and also the potential fine. So it is something that retail investors are calling upon, a good review of that remuneration. It had been based on a recovery plan that was put in place that included metrics. And as you mentioned, absolutely correct that the customer and how the customer is treated should be part of those metrics.
What about this happening in a timely way, the board looking at Alan Joyce's bonuses? Because, I mean, we see this before, and I hate to be cynical, but you wait till the heat dies down, you defer all these bonuses, and when the time is right in the news and political cycle, you can then pay them quietly. I mean, is there any way to avoid that happening?
Yeah, well, we're calling upon the board to make the right decisions here around Alan Joyce and his remuneration. We're also expecting to see a remuneration report out of Qantas tomorrow, which we'll be examining very closely to see what that remuneration looks like for Alan Joyce and for the executive team.
Rachel, forgive me, you're relying on the board to make the right decision. Recent history has shown that they haven't always made the right decisions.
Yeah, you're correct. So the opportunity here is for retail investors. There is an AGM that comes up later this year, and all remuneration needs to be approved through the AGM process. So we all do need to vote at that point in time. The opportunity is for retail investors. They can say no to a remuneration report, and there could be a strike applied towards Qantas.
What about the questions about Alan Joyce's decision to sell $17 million worth of shares? It happened before these string of controversies, and it happened at the same time that Qantas was engaging a share buyback. That seems pretty stinky, if you ask me.
Yeah, the issue here is, what did the board know? What did the board know when they approved the sale of that $18 million? And were they aware of the ACCC investigation and potential action and outcomes? And if so, that's absolutely not appropriate.
How could they not know, Rachel?
Well, you would hope that they would know, but we can see from the Banking Royal Commission that sometimes boards don't have the appropriate oversight in place. And that's what we do want to know.
Yeah, appropriate oversight. I mean, are there not rules in place where a CEO must disclose such things to a board?
Yes. So the CEO and the executive team should disclose all risks to the business to the board. The board should also be asking the right questions to ensure that the risks are identified and that they're aware of those potential fines and investigation around poor performance.
One final question here. Alan Joyce is gone. It is a new era at Qantas. But I guess, are you asking questions about what the now CEO, former CFO, knew complicit is too much of a strong word, but was she involved in the decision-making that leads us to now? And what about Richard Goyder?
There's a vacuum of information here. We are asking those questions. We will be asking those questions. There's many questions around what the board knew, what the executive team knew, and what the CEO now, the past CEO designate, knew at the time.
Rachel, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it this morning.
Thank you, Laura.